Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to the Nicholas County Board of Education regular meeting, Monday, March 17th, 2025. Please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda.
I have no changes to recommend.
Okay. Student representatives. If they come in late, we'll squeeze them in. Approve the minutes of the meetings held on March 6, 2025. Anything, any corrections?
Just a second. There was a student's name I think might be wrong, is the only thing I noticed. Let's see. I can't find it now. Is the name G-A-V-E, Gave, correct? Gave Hunter, or should that be Gabe Hunter? I don't know.
Where is it?
Item 5.
Oh, it's the second to the last
Yeah, I
bullet.
see it.
Yeah.
State wrestling tournament.
I'm not sure, I'll double check it though.
Do you know if that name's correct? Gabe Hunter or Gabe Hunter, the wrestling tournament? State wrestling tournament. Must be the other school. I'm not sure.
It was Ridgewood.
Okay, well,
I'll check it.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
So other than her checking that, are we good to, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Mr. Ferguson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimous. Superintendent's information updates.
Just a couple quick things. We have our bid opening for our sewer project this Wednesday. If we receive any bids, then we will need to have a quick board meeting on Monday morning at 8:30 in the morning to approve the bids if we choose to. Also, I did receive the new rate, the waiver request form from the State Department last week, and so I'll be sending that out this week. We are going to request 3 days of forgiveness. I do not expect to get those approved, but we will try our best. And Sarah Lee, I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize for that, but I've not seen you for a few days. We've been in crossing paths. Math field day, the original math field day.
Yes,
How
high
do we-
high school is already,
Pardon?
high school has already happened.
And how'd we do?
Pleased to announce that we brought home the team trophy for the first time in many years for grades 10 through 12.
And who came in second?
I believe that would be Pocahontas County.
That's right. That's what I wanted to get public. And I've already been hearing from all math teachers over there.
Oh, I'm
so-
sure.
But I knew the answer, that's one of those questions you asked, you already know the answer to.
Yes.
And I wanted you to get a chance to
Yes, and
announce
on
that.
Friday will be grades 4 through 9.
Thank you. That's right. First place, second leader. I guess. Chris Henshaw asked me for a couple minutes to talk a little bit about some technology. For some safe school stuff.
Got the same schools handled right now.
Okay, so before he starts, special meeting, are we gonna go ahead and announce that
It's
for
on, it's
now?
on the back here.
Are we saying, so everybody caught that?
Yeah, it's listed here in there.
Okay,
For number 14. It's listed under.
it's the first one.
Yeah, it's there. I just need to touch on why I was doing it.
Okay.
So we've been planning for some time to have an active shooter training drill at the Career Center. And I just wanted to give you guys, it's coming up on, April the 21st. That's the first day back from spring break. We tried to make it a day that hopefully didn't interrupt a lot of instruction. And, so everybody in the communities involved has come together, I think, really nicely. Our Jeff Dixon, our insurance consultant, he's helped head it up. But today at our meeting was the state police, Somersville Memorial Hospital, ambulance service, Jane Care, city, I don't know that the city police, they've been there. Somersville City Police went to a couple, because I'm sure they'll respond like normal, because when you have those situations, everybody responds. But the sheriff's department was there. We plan to, there will be opt-out forms to go home to students. And when they opt out, that's not a free day home from school. When they opt out, they're going to stay at their home school that day, and they're going to watch active shooter training videos and go over materials that way. They just won't be involved in the exercise. A typical evacuation of the school, the kids would go over to Gully River, is still planned. We plan to make sure they catch all their normal buses. The event won't last long. Most school shootings occur within over in 8 minutes. So the actual drill won't take long. The hospital is teamed up with us, and the way it'll kind of go down is whoever, and I know nothing about who the shooter is. The Somersville, the Sheriff's Department has planned that event out, and they're going to go in there, go through the school, and they're going to say, hand you a card, and on the card it says whether you're unalived or you're injured and to what extent. And that way when Jane Care or the other authorities come through, they can diagnose and they can say, yes, this person needs to go, this person can stay, because they have to decide, when you have mass injuries, they have to decide what happens to each person, because you don't have a lot of ways to transport students. So that's kind of the situation that we're going to have. We're going to start putting it out on Facebook and say, hey, this is, because the last thing you want is somebody not knowing it's not a drill. So there'll be call outs, there'll be Facebook posts, probably put it in the paper. So it all has to happen kind of early, because the week before it is spring break. So we have to be ready the week before they go home for it to come back. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that, give you a chance to ask any questions or make suggestions, or it's been good to be able to work with all the agencies to figure out what they need to make it an effective training for them.
Are they actually gonna transport those kids to the hospital, or is it just?
No, I didn't want to transport kids, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to keep them on site. We're not actually going to we was worried about pulling the resources from the public, so we didn't want to do that. So we're not even going to have actual ambulances arrive, because we don't have that many ambulances. We're just going to have the personnel from the ambulance authority to arrive, and they'll go through and assess. And I didn't want to go through the permission forms of hauling kids over there, and so we're doing it as least impactful as possible, because we don't want to pull resources from the community that may be needed at that time.
So what was the date and time, Chris?
Well, the time is whenever they decide to do it, because,
Okay, that's up to them.
yeah,
And the date and,
what is it, April 21st, the first day back from spring break,
and it'll be
the
at
Career Center.
Career Center.
Mhm. There's not going to be any blanks fired at all. So the last thing you want to do is traumatize a student training for something that may not happen. So there's going to be no flags fired at all.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that all you have? Okay, Ms. Kim, do we have any delegations?
No, sir.
Thank you. Action items. Discussion with possible action on the approval of the new building name for Cherry River Elementary, Richwood Middle School, and Richwood High School.
I passed out, as you all know, we did do a survey. We sent that out for 1 week. Where only people from the Richwood area who had ties to the Richwood schools would be allowed to vote. And it was interesting to read some of the comments on Facebook. It's always entertaining. I'll just leave it at that. But we received, I was pleasantly surprised. We had over 500 responses, which is really, really good. But the 4 choices were Richwood Academic Complex, Richwood Learning Center, Cherry River Academic Complex, and Cherry River Learning Center. And those, people want to know where those names came from. Well, they were just very similar to what we did with the Summersville Pre-K-8 school. Same kind of names, never anything different about it. But when the votes came back, it was overwhelmingly option 1, Richwood Academic Complex, 356 votes. The Richwood Learning Center, 36 votes, and Ray, I have you a copy actually. The Richwood Academic or the Cherry River Academic Complex, 88, and the Cherry River Learning Center, 28. So 356 out of that total number, 70% of the vote was for the one choice of the Richwood Academic Complex, and the other 3 split the other 30%. So that's the information I have to provide for you.
Oh, me
So when we do the action item, we need to specifically say the,
You need to make, if you're gonna make a motion, and name what the name of the building is.
so let's do A separately. So if somebody want to make a motion?
Should go ahead.
I'll make that motion, if you guys are gonna be reluctant. I'll make the motion that we name the Richwood Academic Complex.
Okay.
Use the name Richwood Academic Complex.
And it's just the building name. The public had a lot of,
Yeah, each school has their own.
they still have 3 schools. All right, so the motion was by Mr. Moose for A, to make the building name at Richwood, the Richwood Academic Complex. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Green seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Okay. B is discussion with possible action to approve makeup snow days.
Yeah, we've talked about this ad nauseum with all the weather we've had this winter, but the dates have not changed since our last update. The last date for students would be June the 5th. This is not taking any of spring break. And then the teacher's last day would be on Friday the 6th, assuming they have done their parent-teacher conferences. And for same thing for service personnel who may have to work on the 9th, but the 9th would be the last possible day for our 200-day employees. Assuming we do not get the waiver approved, and that's the assumption I'm going to go under. So I doubt we'll get it.
Okay, C, discussion with possible action on entering into a new, y'all want to do these separate?
Yeah.
All of them? Okay. So do we have a motion on B?
I'll make that.
Mr. Berry makes a motion,
Second.
second by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. Action item C, Discussion with possible action on entering into an agreement with the city of Summersville concerning the Summersville Elementary School property and the Summersville Regional Outdoor Recreation Complex.
If I could, Mr. President, if I could maybe start that discussion.
Absolutely.
All right. First thing I'm gonna do is actually get the mayor, Robert Schaefer, on the line. He wanted to be here, he wanted to make that very clear. He's in Charleston at the legislative day for municipalities. And he was gonna drive back up, and we told him it wasn't necessary, but I would like to get him on the phone just so that anybody has any personal questions of him.
Well, this just means we're gonna look at the possibility of an agreement.
Yes, that's correct.
We're gonna see the agreement.
Yes, yeah, I think Robert will make that very clear. Hey, Robert, it's Steve, can you hear me okay?
Hey Steve, how are you?
Good. We just started a discussion on entering into an agreement with the city of Summersville concerning Summersville Elementary School property and the Summersville Regional Outdoor Recreational Complex. And I just finished making the remarks that you wanted to be here because it was very, very important, and you appreciated us saying no. You're down at the legislature, and that's important too, and you just participate by phone. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to start the discussion this way. I'm always kind of looking for win-wins, and Robert can correct me if I'm wrong, but the city of Summersville is putting together an outdoor recreational complex, and part of that complex is going to be soccer fields. And even before this board, under the previous superintendent, they had discussions even at that time about, no agreements, but just discussions about the Nicholas County High School designating or being a part of that, and the Board of Education being a partner in this complex. Well, those discussions have now got to the point now that the city needs to make some decisions, and the school board needs to make some decisions. So we're taking the next step and not just being in discussions, but possibly outlining some procedures or steps we need to take to enter into an agreement. And it's around $1.5 million complex that the city is entertaining with buildings and soccer fields, and they have a committee set up for the soccer fields, and it's chaired by Jeremy Bandy. And Jeremy Bandy is actually the high school girls soccer coach, and he chairs that committee. And they would like to make that the home of Nicholas County High School soccer. And the city asked for the Board of Education to partner into the amount of $500,000 to become a partner in that. I think our board discussed that and did not feel we could do that at this time, or it did not make sense to do that at this time. We then started a discussion about the Summersville Elementary School property, which is inside the city, about 9 acres. And what would happen to that when Summersville Elementary moved over to the Glade Creek project in a couple of years. And I think from my perspective, that the Summersville Elementary School property is really a liability to the school board because of having to tear that building down and some asbestos issues, and we're not in the development business. However, it might make a lot of sense for the city to be able to control that property and enter into a development agreement, how they want that developed into the future. I think the mayor, and he can speak to that in a minute, but I think the mayor has discussed that with his town council, and they are interested in doing that. So in lieu of the $500,000 commitment, in my opinion, we'd be given a liability or a break even at best time you tore the building down. If you did try to develop the property or sell the property, I don't think the school board would actually come out with a lot of money. But in lieu of that $500,000 that we enter into agreement to give them the Summersville Elementary School property, and $100,000 paid $20,000 a year over the next 5 years. The $20,000 would come out of our general budget this year, and in the next 4 years, it would come out of the excess levy monies. There would be monies involved in that. what that would do for the Board of Education, it would give Nicholas County High School the rights to that field under a memorandum of understanding by both parties. So all this that we're talking about now would be subject to a memorandum of understanding between the city of Summersville and the Nicholas County Board of Education for the use of that field. So would not be voting on to actually give the property or do any of this. It would all be subject to legal agreements from both parties. I know that the city council, from their standpoint, they would want to make sure that during the summers when they had activities or sports activities coming in, that they could, you know, have more control over that field. But normally the Nicholas County High School and the Board of Education would have control over that field. What I think is very attractive about that is the fact that the memorandum of understanding, once it's worked out, the preliminary guidelines are that the city of Summersville will be totally responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that field. And you have to plan to replace that turf every so long down the road. But again, all that would have to be worked out in negotiations with the city. Did we want to talk just about that, or I know Kristen had raised the middle school thing, or can we talk about that later, or is that going to be a separate item about the middle school field?
It could be, but we'll let the
Okay.
mayor
Robert, why don't you chime in? I know, yes,
You did a great job. There's just a couple things
Okay.
I want to back up and add.
okay,
So, yes, this has been a dream of the city for a long time, and this project has been underway for a long time. We appropriated the property in 2022, and, you know, what we're excited about is the government's not building this, the community is. So when we reached out for committee leaders, Jeremy stepped up big time, has done a wonderful job. He and all kinds of other people involved in not only high school athletic soccer, but our youth soccer programs in the area. That's the committee that's developed this part of the project. You said $1.5 million, Steve. We're actually doing an initial $12 million investment. And that's going to be the first two phases of this park. The first phase is actually, and they're happening simultaneously, but along with the soccer complex going in initially, we're also putting in somewhere between 15 and 20 miles worth of walking, hiking, biking, and then of course biking for all levels to include some pretty awesome mountain bike trails. And so right now, where the design is, it's a total of 8 fields that go from U12 to U6. And the main field would be designated if we do, you know, first of all, you all will vote to move forward with the MOU. We'll vote next Monday to do the same. And then it's all depending on us coming to an agreement on a memorandum of understanding. And of course, the city's well aware of this. You know, what I think is such an awesome opportunity for the Board of Education is the maintenance and upkeep of the entire facility will be the responsibility of the city. In the MOU, it'll address basic things like when the soccer team's done, they gotta clean up the locker room and clean up the trash on the field. And things of that nature, simple stuff. But the actual maintenance expense going forward will be the responsibility of the city. So yes, I did come to the board and initially asked them for $500,000. And then you all came up with the alternative, which taking that back to city council. As you said, Steve, did a real quick review of the situation. You all did provide me with the asbestos reports of the school. And it could end up being a wash, but the good thing for the city of Summersville is that elementary property sits right smack dab in the middle of the city, and it'll give the city control on making sure that whatever happens with that property from a development standpoint, it's to better and improve our city. And you know, as we all sit right now today, knowing that we've got a housing study getting ready to come out for not just the city, but for the county. So it would be my hope someday that somehow, some way, there'd be a bunch of beautiful duplexes or something in that area to further accommodate the housing shortage that we have in our area. But, this really is, I want to back up and say, in my tenure as mayor, which I hate to say how many years that's been, anytime I've partnered with the Board of Education, it's always been a great partnership, and I think this is just another piece to add to that relationship that we have together with the Nicholas County Board of Education and the city of Summers.
Robert, would it be a fair statement to say, though, if the board was just going to build a soccer field and the complex that you were building up there as far as the field house, that it would be around $1.5 million to $2 million part of that?
Well, Steve, I'll tell you, we've got a meeting scheduled this Thursday with the soccer committee, and just the field house development alone, just that building, obviously, we're gonna have to do they're gonna have to do some reworking on it, because just that building right now, locker room, coaches' rooms, and all the other ancillary things that they put with it, just the building right now is price tagged at $2 million.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody have any questions of Robert before we let him go? Mr. Moose, you have any questions?
I assume that, there will be contracts from both sides. And we have that contract that they would keep the field up.
Yeah, it'd be in the MOU.
Yeah, in the memorandum of understanding, it will spell out the duties of the board and the duties of the city. And again, you're not vote, that will be a separate vote, and if you can't come to an agreement on that, then you just don't come to an agreement.
Right.
But it would spell out the duties of both the city, but it is the city's intention, basically, to take care of the maintenance of that field.
So I assume that the Board of Education and the city of Summersville will sit down together and work on an MOU. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. isn't it?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And really, our motion Monday night will be that as far as moving forward, because we've got to redesign that building and get it within our budget, and then we're gonna put it out to bid. We were gonna try to get it out to bid this month, but the engineers said that we will have it out to bid next month. That's the only thing that's holding us up right now, is the redesign of that building. So I think what we do is we both approve it, but it's contingent upon an agreeable MOU, period.
Correct. I
No,
agree with that.
I would think that property would be worth much more than $500,000.
The city of Somerville,
Yeah,
or the elementary school.
yeah, right. So, why then are we going to pay, explain to me why we're going to pay another
Well,
$100,000?
first of all, that property itself, if it didn't have a school on it, you didn't have to tear it down and remove all that asbestos, might be worth $200,000 or $300,000. I mean, if you take those 9 acres, I've kind of looked at, depends on what the developer want to do. You'll still have development costs in there. But if the school board owned that property, we're going to have a liability, because you're going to spend $200,000 or $300,000, and at best, you will be able to sell that property to get that money back.
Recoup your money.
Hey, Steve?
Yes.
The numbers from the Board of Education were supplied to me. The removal of Ridgewood High School was $458,000 for the demo of Ridgewood High School.
So that's the liability we would be looking at if we keep it. Yes, it may be worth something after you prepare it, but you're going to have a lot to prepare. I think at best you'd break about even, at best.
Now,
And just
what's-
another
what's-
note I like to put out
Okay.
there too, because I think this is pretty key. At the last minute, before we refurb or put in a brand new floor at the old main gym that's now the middle school gym, at the last minute, they found out there was less, or they did a test, there was less than 1% asbestos in the glue that they used on that floor many moons ago. And just that less than 1% cost us an additional $100,000 just for the asbestos abatement on a basketball court.
And you say, why would the city do that or take that liability on? It's because it's in the middle of the city and they want to be able to control it with a developer.
Now, tell me about the $100,000. Why are we giving them $100,000 extra, $20,000 over 5 years?
Well, basically what we're saying is the property and stuff is a value of $400,000. And we're trying to get to that $500,000. And the mayor asked if we could do $20,000 a year over 5 years. And you'd only have to take $20,000 out of your general budget this year And then the excess levy has enough money for sporting complexes to do the $20,000 for the next 4 years. I mean, that's why, I mean, that was the mayor's proposal to us after we asked him, would he consider taking the property as a trade? That's kind of how we got to where we're at right now.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
All right, Robert, I appreciate it.
Okay, again, I want to thank you all for allowing me to attend this way down here at the Municipal League. And as you all probably well know, there's a lot of things moving through the legislature.
Yeah. All right, and I'll let you know, I know you need something by Monday. And again, if the board does vote to go.
Actually, our agenda is on Wednesday, so
Okay.
you guys,
Oh, this is-
once you're done
okay.
voting, if you could let me
Yeah.
know, then I plan to put it on our agenda on, we set our agenda Wednesday, our next meeting's, next Monday, and, that's when we'll approve it contingent upon an agreeable MOU.
Yes, and I'll make that clear again, that what we would be voting on is in theory of what we would be doing, we'd be agreeable if we can come to an agreement with the city on a memorandum of understanding.
And the city will
And I,
be,
Stephen, I
city will
really,
be
I don't
set.
have any fears at all, because when I say, and, you know, and again, I, you know, respect, Mr. Moosen's questioning, but when you think about, the maintenance and upkeep of that kind of a, you know, just if it was just a high school field, and the board is absolutely gonna have minimal responsibility to this, complex, and, you know, the MOU will clearly state that for high school soccer games and practice, that field will be a priority, even to the extent that it's gonna carry the Nicholas County High School logo in the field.
Well, I mean, we realize this is not gonna be till 2027.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They'll be happy with that. I mean,
Yeah, that's correct. When do you all think that the fields will be ready, Robert?
So I think the 2027 comment is realistic. Actually, our engineers tell us that there is a chance we can be on it in the fall of 26. But I optimistically throw all that around because we did the groundbreaking in August and then had some environmental twists that we had to go back and redo. And so you just never know weather, contractors, you know, so, you know.
Well, in Robert, in our,
All of 26,
Okay.
but I'm realistically saying, it should be wide open in 27.
well, and in the memorandum of understanding, you know and publicly will state that we would not be able to give the Summersville Elementary School property to the city until such time as we move to the pre-K through 8 school.
We totally understand that.
Okay. All right, Robert, thank you, appreciate you.
Okay.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. Good meeting.
If you want to talk about the other part, you can discuss that. The figures.
I think Chris had asked the question, we still have to make a decision on the soccer field out at the middle school. And I've been a lot of thought about it. You're gonna have a soccer complex if we agree and come to an agreement with the city for the high school out there, and the middle school could probably use one of the lower fields, or they could work out among themselves. Should we invest into the middle school field? Well, if you have a blank sheet of paper, I would say there would be a good debate maybe that you don't. But however, this isn't a blank sheet of paper. We've already prepped for that field. And if I was on the Board of Education, which I don't plan on being in the future, if the memorandum of understanding or you had a break with the city for whatever reason, future councils and future boards, you would have a place to house your high school if you went ahead and completed the middle school. And we've already spent a lot of money in it, and there would be an argument if you did try to tear that out and put grass and stuff in. Number one, it'd be a cost. But number two, you could be looking at some repayment to FEMA because they've already paid you for prepping the field we have. So as far as I'm concerned, my recommendation would still be to go forward with the middle school field. But I know that there's a clean debate on both. I mean, I can understand the debate on the other side too.
Well, I think if we say we're not gonna turf that field and FEMA's gonna want their money back on that project, on that part.
Well, plus
The
we,
curbing, the gravel.
I said,
and plus we kind of told the general public what we were going to do and put it out there, that it was going to be the
Exactly.
Where do they practice now?
high school,
Where's the soccer
Memorial
field?
Stadium. They all use it, football, both middle school
Everybody's on
football,
that field.
high school football,
And
middle
that's-
school soccer, high school soccer.
That's another reason why
turf.
you have to replace your turf so often, if you, the more people it's on it, the longer, the less it's gonna last. But just like a grass field.
And if you caught what Robert said too, even though it's not our responsibility as a Board of Education, but there's gonna be a lot of soccer fields up there, and it goes clear down from 4-year-olds to, there'll be a lot of elementary school kids and stuff that'll be participating in that field, they just won't have a formal team, under the Board of Education umbrella. The middle school will, and the high school will.
I don't know, FEMA's been very cooperative with us for a long time.
Last couple of years. Yeah, I think any motion you make does not need to include our fields in it, because that's already, under the assumption that we're gonna do the field, that's already something we've discussed in previous board meetings. And on this agenda item, it simply talks about the property and the complex, not about the others. So
Okay.
that's my suggestion on any motion that's made.
Any other discussion? Okay, do we have a motion on entering into agreement with the city of Summersville concerning the Summersville Elementary School property and the Summersville Regional Outdoor Recreation Complex?
Contingent upon workable review.
Right.
I'll make that motion contingent on them working out a memorandum of understanding between both parties.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Berry, second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. D, discussion with possible action on 2025-2026 Board of Education meeting schedule.
You notice on this schedule, you do not see LSIC meetings. We talked to the principals, we talked to board members about this, and we are not required to have scheduled LSIC meetings with every school. Only schools under improvement or on any kind of probation because of academics or for any other reason, you have to have an LSIC. We don't have any of those schools at this time. Plus the fact that Mrs. Weitzel requires our principals to provide a monthly report on all facets of their school and how it's operating academically and benchmarks and all that. We just didn't feel the need to bring those people up here for 14 meetings with the Board of Education on LSICs. So the board meeting schedule does not include LSICs. We do reserve the right at any time, if the board would like to meet with the school and give a report on a particular situation, of course, we can do that as they become necessary. And there are different starting times on there for various reasons. Most of them start at 4 or 5 o'clock. Of course, with our expulsion hearings we have and our work sessions we have, those times sometimes change. So those are always changeable, but the dates are what's important.
Still, basically, they're all still first and,
Yeah, they're usually 2 weeks apart, sometimes they're 3, depending on what's going on there. And of course, the mandatory meeting we have in April, that we have coming up on our levy approval rates is also in there.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, do we have a motion on the 2025-26 Board of Education meeting schedule? Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by?
second.
Second by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. E, discussion with possible action on approving the bid from the New Tech Company for the Richwood site low voltage bid.
is all of the fiber and power distribution and switching and access points for the Richwood facility. It came in at just over $1 million, but I'm planning on using about 600,000 of E-rate funds that'll expire this year if we don't use them. So it'll only, hopefully, the plan is to use about 400,000 of FEMA funds to completely install that network.
Sorry, what did the bid come in?
$1,040,000.
Low voltage that they were talking about, when,
This is not lighting or anything, this is the cable infrastructure for access controls, electronic in and out, for the PA systems, intercoms, for wireless, the data network infrastructure.
Yeah, this is not the, remember there was an alternative proposal in there, wiring and stuff. This is not that. This is
yeah,
just
they call it low voltage.
Yes, they call it low voltage, but it's not that.
Okay.
This is low voltage, but
Yeah,
it's not that.
correct,
system.
yes.
So Chris,
It's the normal system.
the 400,000,
Uh-huh,
was that already in the,
it was already budgeted out.
okay.
So it'll be,
It was part of the.
whenever I sent this bid to Chris, he said that bid would work just fine without E-rate funds. It was budgeted out, it was a little bit over what his budget was, but he had plenty for that. So we're going well under
Okay.
what
So-
he had budgeted because of the 600,000 of E-rate funds.
I assume that outlets, appliances, and all those things are high voltage.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll have another bid on the low voltage.
No, this is, your high voltage was included in your original bid,
Yeah.
your GC. This is just your computer network and your access control.
Yeah, but they said that we would have to have low voltage, and they estimated that it would be $1,900,000.
Now, the only thing that you have left to bid this is the devices, the endpoint devices. I've already got the switches and the access points for the computer network. The intercom system will have a sign, like, I don't know if you've been in Panther Creek or Nicholson, but the actual device that houses it's a scrolling sign that says the time and the date, or it'll say if you're on lockdown procedure or any of that, it'll scroll across through there. And then the actual physical device that sits on the wall for access control to let people in and out. That's the only thing left. And cameras, sorry, cameras.
So, the installation of that, is that in the bid?
The installation of the devices
Yes,
that we haven't bid out,
right.
I think I would have to verify with CMM, but I think that is it was Hanger supplied, contractor installed. So I think that's already in there, but I have to make sure that I'm correct.
How many drops you had in there?
She was tested for whatever.
Oh, I'd have to look at the bid. It was a lot. I mean, this is, so there's ceiling units, facilitate approximately 2 classrooms, and we had about 30 of those in the building. So I mean, it's a 120,000 square foot building. That's what, you gotta realize, it's not a small project at all. So, and we're talking 32 switches. You know, so remember, switches and access points, over 100 access points is in this bid as well. And it's broken out, I put in there, it's kind of broke out. It's $140,000 in just cabling, connectors, and $51,000 in access points. The $200,000 in ceiling racks. Of course, you have licenses for all that stuff as well. And just fiber transceivers, it's about $60,000, because when we get done, you're going to have the backbone to each classroom is 10 gig. So that's we're not going to have to upgrade that system. And I mean, it's going to last very. You worked with it. We've had 1 gig in our school for 15 years. Now, if you think this is going to 10 gig per classroom.
This I wasn't
This
here
is
when
the
they were-
stuff that you used to do, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat, yeah.
It's the same, just a little different.
I wasn't here for the original bid, when they bid Richwood out, so wasn't it 40-some million?
43, and with the 2 extra classrooms, it was 46.
But in that bid, this was excluded.
Right.
But we knew it was in the budget. It was in the
Yeah.
architect's budget.
Yes.
It just wasn't in the
The
original.
total, and I don't want to misquote this, but I think the total, what we'll call low voltage package with access controls, cameras, all that was, I think he said like 3 million was set aside for that. So, but remember, we still got to buy the wall clocks and all
Right,
that.
so we had a budget line item in addition to what the
Yes.
bid to SQP,
Mhm.
and this is well within that budget line.
Yeah, it's actually below it because of the 600,000 from E-rate. We're using federal funds to supplement other.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chris. Do we have a motion to accept the bid from the New Tech Company for the Richwood site low voltage bid?
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Green. Seconds, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. Consent items, finance.
We have several things today. I'll try to be fast. The first item is payment of current invoices. And I know you guys probably just got those today, so if you need a minute to look at that stuff.
That whole pulmonary thing, Lisa does. I did all that. My lungs, every breathing, all that was normal.
Anybody have anything on payment of current invoices?
And I'm taking Zyrtec and I'm taking a
Okay.
lung allergy.
Next is supplements and transfers. There's a lot of those today, but most of that is where we have gotten we've gotten the grant award for some of the title money that we get. So we had an original budget at the beginning of the year, and so then when we get the grant award, it's slightly different. So there's just a lot of individual lines to make that match up. So it looks like a lot, but it's really just kind of truing that up from what was originally budgeted.
You know, there's nothing in my head.
So there are no questions about that. Next is the treasurer's report.
Christian, our fiscal year goes from July 1 to June 30th, correct?
Yes.
So this is a report for February, so March, April, May, 4 months left.
Mhm.
So we're in 75%. We've done 75%, but I noticed like our revenues and stuff are 40, we've received 40%. Is all that normal? I mean, I just haven't worked in this before.
Yes,
Does a lot of
yeah,
it come in toward the end of your fiscal year?
yes, yeah, that, it is a little bit misleading because you would think that we would be 75% through on everything, but in some cases we're not. For example, I don't do a journal entry for the money that we have gotten for PEIA and retirement. I do it quarterly. So like at the end of March,
Okay.
I'll show where we got, we're not really getting the money, we're just getting a credit against it. So that's behind a little bit. And then in some instances, if you look at our expenses, let me find a good example.
You know, what, about 56% of our expenditure?
If you look at our expenditures for, say, school administration in the general fund, that looks like it looks like we're over a little bit, which that's, that can be expected. But it looks like we've already spent 106% of what we have
Right.
budgeted for that. But most of that is salaries. And so we have the salaries that we've already spent, but then we have the rest of our salaries for the rest of the year encumbered. So we've already accounted for everything, all of the salaries that we're spending in that, and there's very little else that's in that column, or that's in that category. So that's why that looks so high. So it's just, yeah, it is a
But you're
little bit
pretty,
misleading.
you're comfortable based on your experience, what you've seen years past, this is kind of normal, it's going,
Yes.
at the end of June, it'll,
Yes, and like, property tax revenue is gonna fluctuate a good bit, like, this past month was a big month because people are paying their, in order to get a discount, so there's a couple of months there in the year that are big property tax collection months, so, yeah, there are a lot of things that fluctuate, but yes, it all looks normal to me, and then as we get farther into the year, and the items where we're high or low, we'll reevaluate that, and if we feel like we need to adjust, we will. Keep that current. Okay, if there are no more questions about that one, we'll move to contracts, and there are several. The first is New River Health, an agreement for bus driver physical exams. Then next, we have, this is annual, the WVU Extension Service, in our levy, we allocate $30,000 a year for their support. So they send this memorandum of agreement every year for that. So this is not $30,000 additional dollars, this is just the $30,000 that we have set aside in the levy for them each year. Then we have an agreement with the Summersville Arena and Conference Center for the Career Center graduation.
Who pays for this?
I believe that the graduation for the Career Center, you've not done that at the Armory before, have you? So I'm assuming that will come out of your, yeah, his program funds. And then another agreement with the Summersville Arena and Conference Center for the Summersville Middle School Spring Formal. And then the middle school will cover that out of their school fund.
This is Tom, this is the first year that y'all used the conference center because of the crowd and the parking and.
Yeah, we're completing students both in the morning and afternoon. We have double the number of completers, so we just outgrew St. Luke's.
Yeah, I know it gets pretty crowded up there.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Okay, and next is Appalachian Office Products, which is a service agreement for copier for New Life Christian Academy, and that's paid for out of federal funds. So we have a certain amount of federal funds that are allocated to private schools. Okay, and the last item under contracts is change order number 1 with SQP. And I believe that should be in your packet, but I just wanted to point out that originally in our agreement with SQP, we had allowances of about $1.7 million for various items. And this is a change in those allowances of a little bit over $1 million. And we also previously had about $25,000 worth of changes that we had taken care of in prior payments. So that leaves us with $642,000 in allowances on our contract with SQP. So we're not paying anything more yet. This was something that was in the allowance, so we're not going over budget or anything quite yet, but we are using up some of our allowances with them. And so in addition to that, this also changes the substantial completion dates. So those are listed there. Phase 1 interior, June of '25. Phase 1 exterior, August of 2025. And phase 2 and 3, December of 2025.
So this is, I assume this was all recommended by the architect, or approved by
Yes.
the architect,
Yes.
at their negotiations with SQP.
Right.
That substantial phase 2 and phase 3 in December of 25, does that affect our plans at all? to move
It
forward?
doesn't. That's been consistently the date that they have quoted to us, but they're under the assumption they should beat that date. They usually put those dates out there a little farther than they expect to give them some leeway in case there's some issues that they don't expect. But it doesn't change our plans to be out of getting the elementary kids in there quicker than that.
In completing phase 1 by June 30th
Yeah.
should enable you to bring in your FF&E and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're already starting to work on getting some supplies ordered and get our maintenance guys ready to start moving things, and we're excited about doing it.
My next item is an action item, which is approval of the FY '26 schedule of proposed levy rates. So this is based on the assessed values that we get from the assessor's office in early March. And compared to last year, we're about a little bit less than $300,000 more in the proposed amount of money we will get from regular and excess levy than we got from last year. So a small increase from where we were last year. So then after this is approved this evening, then it goes to the state for approval, and then it will come back to you guys again in the form of a levy order and rate sheet to be approved again.
That's the April meeting, the Tuesday April meeting, yeah, okay.
If there are no questions about that, then we have out-of-state travel requests. The first one of those has already happened, but I don't think, he's a kind of new employee, so I don't think he realized that he had to get permission to do that. So it's kind of like a retroactive. We want to go ahead and show that he attended that.
He's our junior ROTC.
Yeah.
ROTC.
So all of these trips would be funded by the school or the sport who's attending.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
How do we know which ones are funded by the schools and which ones are funded by the board?
But the board is not
Board.
funding any of
She
those.
said sports.
Okay, I thought
Right,
you said
that's,
outside
yes,
board.
sports. So if it's a sport, then, you know, the sports team will do that. And then if it's a school, it's usually done by, they might do fundraising,
Yeah.
if it's a class trip. So but none of these are going to be funded by the board directly.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept consent items finance 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, E, F? Action item A, in the out-of-state travel request 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. Personnel, thank you, Kristen.
You want to go to this one?
Good evening. I have one addition that I need to, it's in red on your agenda. We didn't receive it until today. Mark Stump resigns as Director of Transportation and Maintenance effective 5/7/25. The rest as presented, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Find it here.
Anyone have a question?
Oh, I printed mine off.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
Okay, I printed mine off, so yours is new.
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moose. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous.
I'm sorry, I was reading.
Thank you. Reports, CCSC, Mr. Ferguson.
Nothing to report. They've moved those meetings to every 2 months instead of once a month, and our next meeting's this Wednesday.
Okay. Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Anyone have an item for future agenda? Okay, anybody have a matter of the board? Kelly, Ms. Whitesell, in the past, a couple times, we have had, I know you're kind of overseeing the transportation, so in the past, a couple times, we've booked so many field trips that we had to cancel regular bus runs because we didn't have enough drivers. So Don probably needs to watch that closely.
Well, we're canceling field trips,
Okay,
not regular bus
We
runs.
did that recently.
okay.
But if the field trips are on this agenda, they're approved, and you have transportation, bus driver.
I do not, how I've been working transportation, the jobs go out for bid Thursday afternoon. And then they close Monday afternoon. And I filled in Monday for the week Tuesday through the following Monday. So, for instance, last week, we had a Washington DC field trip that was from 2 a.m. on Thursday through 2 a.m. on Friday. And we could not get a substitute that was willing to take it. I did have regular drivers who were willing to take it, but we did not fill that trip.
Okay, well, and that's, sometimes we get so many requests at this time of year, I was just putting that out there, that, you know, they need to be getting their request in, and as you all look at them, you know, pay attention to if we already have several trips that day before we approve them. Because, you know, it's a shame if they raise the money to go on their trip and do all that, and then we don't have a bus driver, which is not our fault.
Right. Absolutely. We told, if they wanted to take it on a Saturday, we could certainly fill it for a Saturday. It's just through the week we could not fill it. We had a sub that was willing to take it, but unfortunately, he had to go in the hospital, for a procedure, so he could not take it. And we just couldn't get anybody else. But yeah, we're not canceling regular runs for field trips.
Well, what's bad is if they raise their money and buy their tickets ahead of time.
They had not, yet. We
So-
were in constant communication
Okay.
with the school, and they had not.
Well, I was just thinking ahead, because I know a couple years ago, we had to cancel regular bus runs to have a field trip. And then the other thing I want to bring up, it's personnel season, and I'm a little bit disappointed because, you know, the board does not know the RIFs and transfers ahead of time. We don't know the names. Sometimes we'll know that they're gonna cut so many teachers across the county, but we have no idea. But what's really bad is when we get calls from service personnel, teachers, the likes, that say, why are y'all cutting my job? And our personnel director and superintendent haven't even been around yet to tell the folks that they're being cut. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's coming from central office. So really, I shouldn't be getting calls about RIFs and transfers before they've even reached out to the people that it affects. So it's a bad look on our central office when that happens. And I don't know if any of the rest of y'all got that or not.
Theirs last week.
But
70
I got 3 calls
total.
from 3 different people before I left last week, and y'all didn't even go out until last week, right?
Well, yeah, Thursday and Friday and today.
So it's being leaked, and it shouldn't happen.
We did, Thursday, Friday, and today, we've done around 80 meetings with personnel. And to be very honest, 95% of them was fine. And there's a few, we will have some hearings. I feel safe in saying we'll have some hearings on the 7th. But 99% of them handled it very, very well and understood. Weren't happy about it, but understood. And just, you know, we explained to them that, you know, with a $3.5 million gap to fill, this doesn't even come close to filling it, but it's the best we could do. It's the most cuts we could make and feel like that we can handle. They're not going to be pleasant. They're putting people doing more than they've done in the past, or serving more students than they have in the past possibly. But you know, we've made it clear for several months that our budget is a major concern, and there was going to be some pain involved, and this is just part of that. I'd like to say that's going to be the end of the pain, but it's probably not, because if we continue to lose students, and probably get in trouble for this, but if the legislature continues to do things to destroy public education, we're going to have more and more pain. We just are. I read today that Hope Scholarship is estimated to go up to $300 million next year. That's almost 3 times what it is now. If that happens, you know, talk about a $400 million shortfall in the state government, they're going to $300 million to Hope Scholarship. Doesn't make any sense to me. But that's just me. And I'll be quiet.
I also read, just for the general public or whatever, that these cuts are very hard and fiscal responsibility is very hard. More and more counties are being taken over by the state system, and there's proposals to continue to consolidate and do that. So I am proud of the treasurer and personnel director and superintendent take these proactive steps, because if you don't, those numbers are real. And it's happening to other counties in the state. Is that a fair assumption, Terrence?
Oh, it is. It is.
And we're trying to keep that from happening.
On a lighter moment here, a good friend of mine used to be personnel director in a neighboring county, and he was telling a story one time where he had to deliver a RIF letter to his daughter and to his mother. So I'm sure supper that evening was not very enjoyable. But that's just kind of the world we live in. I mean, it comes down to seniority, and it doesn't matter where you fall, that's what happens when you have to make a cut. And a lot of the employees we saw felt like that it was personally against them, but Ms. Weitzel, I just sit back and watch her and in awe of some of the things she does and how she keeps her composure and how she keeps on track. But the person we're talking to, a lot of times, it's not their job that's leaving. It's somebody else's job that's got more seniority, and they bump into that person. And that person said, "What did I do?" Well, you didn't do anything except you don't have enough seniority to keep a job. And that's hard. And we've seen some anger, we've seen some tears, we've seen some shock, we've seen a little bit of everything the last 3 days. But, she's done a fabulous job doing it. I appreciate her so much, and I appreciate our employees being understanding. We met with bus drivers today, and they all they understood. One lady, before we got to start, said, "I know why I'm here, I'm getting riffed, I know." Of course, she knows where she is on the seniority list. She knows we got to cut positions, and so I applaud those people for taking it like they have.
Well, what makes it hard as a board member is, we live in this community, it's a small community, and they know most of us, and I've worked with several of them, and they come to me and I say, "Look, I used to be in your shoes, but now we have to worry about making a budget."
Next year, you're doing the calendar, we've already pretty much approved that. Can you make it like a PL day? I know you've done 90 meetings, you can't do them all in one day, but, because I know it's hard on the staff when they gotta get back to the classroom after getting cut.
You're exactly right, it is. And like I say, it took us
Our
3
kids
days.
too, so.
It took us 3 days to do it.
Yes.
But at least they didn't do it the day before Christmas, because one year they did. One year from Nicholas County, they went around before Christmas.
That's awesome.
And I was AFT president, and I went round and round with our superintendent then, because I just thought that was horrible. There's no great time to do it, but certainly not the day before Christmas break.
Well, one of the things that we talk about is when I was in Pocahontas and Kelly was in Calhoun, we had smaller counties, we understand that, but we made personal visits to talk to everybody, and we did the same thing here. And there are counties that just either mail them or give them to the principal and say, "You deliver these to your people." And we felt like we need, if we're going to stand on these decisions, we need to face these employees face to face and say, "Here's the deal." And it's not fun to do. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Future meeting dates? So as of now, we'll have a special meeting Monday, March 24th. And that should be a short meeting to discuss the Nicholas County sewage, to approve that project, hopefully.
It's 8:30 in the morning.
8:30 in the morning, Monday, March 24th. Then we have a regular meeting, Monday, April 7th. Tuesday, April 15th will be reconvene for the levy rates, and that's reconvening this meeting, correct?
That's correct.
And then the regular meeting, Monday, April 21st, and those are, the reconvened is 8 in the morning, and the regular meetings are at 4.
That's correct.
So, at this, sorry?
April 21st, give that to me again.
April 21st is the regular meeting at 4. He's probably on the
Oh, I thought you said something about 8 in the morning.
The 8 in the morning is the reconvene from April 15th for
Oh,
levy
okay,
rates. That's by state law.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so at this time, we will need to conduct some student disciplinary hearings, so we need a motion for executive session.
I make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion for student disciplinary hearings. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Green.
Sister.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? At 5:15.